All right. In the past, we've learned to sort of, to stylize things. Like let's say I have this list here, right? And I have my list, my unordered list has 5 list items, right? And I can come in here and this is what it looks like, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And let's just say for the sake of argument, I don't want to stylize every single list item. Okay, let's just say for the sake of argument, I only want to stylize the second element, just maybe this one. Okay. So in the past, we might have done something like this. It's like, I might make a CSS class and do something like this. And I come in here and then apply it, right? And I get that. Now, that's a perfectly valid way of doing it. The problem, though, is it does require that you have access to the HTML so you can apply the CSS. The problem is that's sometimes not so much in this class, but you might be working with a CMS system where it's very hard for the user the person developing the content to have access to the HTML. And so it's hard for them to apply this. Okay. What I could do if I wanted to is rather than needing to use like a class or an ID in order to select something specific, is I can actually use what's called nth child. Okay. What nth child means is that you can take a parent and then choose from the children which of the children you want to affect. Okay. So as you guys probably remember, if I have a UL in this situation. So I have UL, and then I have 5 children. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? That's what's going on in this particular example. So these are the these are the 5 children of this. What we would say is this is child 1, child 2, child 3, child 4, and child 5. Okay. So what I want to do is if I want to affect this one, what I could say is I want to affect the li, but only the nth child that is number 2, which means, okay, get the second child of an element, and then that's what it would be. So the way I would do this is I'm going to come into here, and I'm going to say li nth child 2. Okay. Which means find the second child, or for every time that there's a bunch of children that are list items, find the second one of these. Okay, so this is the first, this is the second, third, fourth, fifth. So in theory, it should highlight this one. Okay, let's try it out. Background color red. Okay, I'm gonna go back and let's try this. And now it works. Okay, maybe I want to select the third one. Okay, well, that would be li nth child. Great. Okay. So what's nice about this is it doesn't require that I use any CSS, I don't have to use any CSS classes or any CSS IDs to get this to work. It happens because of the way we're selecting. And like I said, this might be useful. Maybe you always want to stylize the second child, that's a list item. Why? I don't know. You just want to do that. Let's try another example of this. So here I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 divs, each with some text in it. Let's just say for the sake of argument, I want to stylize the 4th div, but just the 4th one. Well, The div in this case, there are four of them. What I'm going to say is div nth child 4. And let's give it a background color of hot pink. Okay. So what it should do is anytime there's a group of these, it'll take the fourth child and just stylize that one. So if I come back here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it should only affect this one in theory. I'm going to refresh. Oops. Sorry, I made a mistake. There should only be one here. Okay. So what it's going to do is all of these divs are inside of this section here, which I accidentally deleted part of that. It should grab the fourth one, which is this one, and stylize that. Oops. Div function 4. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So you can use this to, to stylize a particular one. What if you don't necessarily want to select always the first or the third or the 23rd? What if you just want every other one? Well, there's something called nth child odd and even. So here, what I have is it's kind of the same setup again, where it's like, a bunch of lists, or it's a list with a bunch of list items. And then I have a section here that's full of divs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say list item, nth child. And instead of saying first or second or third or whatever, I'm just going to say odd. And what that means is it's going to select the first, the third, the fifth, the seventh, the ninth, 11th, so on and so on. So every odd child is going to get this styling. Okay. So I'm going to set it to a background color of yellow. All right. Let's preview this. And you can see that it does the first, the third, and the fifth. And if I were to come back and add more later, you can see how on the 7th it still works. Okay. If I wanted to do even, I could do the same thing, even. And then it's going to do the 2nd, the 4th, the 6th. This is a nice, easy way to do a stripe design. So if you wanted, like, let's say you didn't know how many containers you had, but you wanted every other container to be a color, I could say, okay, nth child odd, nth child even. So now I'm basically making like a sort of yellow and red stripe design. Oops. Maybe not. And if I come back, boom. Okay. So you can see how maybe if I had like a bunch of sections and I'm setting them up in Flexbox or, a grid or something, and I wanted them to be every other, using nth child might be a really good way of doing that. Okay. Speaking of that, maybe I wasn't originally going to do this, but let's try setting this up. I'm going to take this section and let's use grids. So I'm going to say section display as a grid, and let's just set up my columns to be 3 columns. Okay. 1, 2, 3. And let's just say for the sake of argument, I want this to be yellow, and then this to be yellow. So it's every other one. Well, what I could do is say, okay, just to be a little bit more specific, let's do it like this. Nth child odd. And I'm going to set the background color to a nice light yellow. Maybe a little brighter like that. Okay. 1, 3, 5. And if later on I, add more to this, so just added a couple more table cells, you can see it still is doing every other, right? And so this, you can see how this could be really helpful for you, okay? Rather than me having to make a bunch of classes and apply it to every other of these, I can do it like literally with sort of one line of code here, okay? We can also do the first and last child. The way that works is like it sounds like it'll, no matter how many children there are, it'll take the first, it'll stylize the first child of something and also the last child of something. So if I were to come in here and say li first child, in this case, at least at the moment, this is always going to be the first child. So if I change the color of that, what's going to happen is this should be stylized with the red. And it is. And if I were to move stuff around, like let's say I move this to here, now this is the first child, and this is no longer the first child, it's the second child. What would happen is this would be now stylized, not this one. And if I go back, you can see how that changes. With the last child, it's the same idea, except it's the last child, no matter how many children there are. Now, currently I have 5. So if I were to say li last child, color, I don't know, green, it should take the last child, which currently is this, and make it green, and it did. But if I were to add children or, move them around, so now this one is the new last child. That should be the element that's affected because that is the new last child. Okay. Same thing here. I have a bunch of divs that are inside of a section. If I were to do div first child, that would grab the first div in the section, which is this one. Let's set the background color to yellow. Oops. Okay. If I want to do it to the last child, that would be div last child, and let's set the background color to green. Or I don't know. I don't know. Purple. Why not? Let's go back. Okay. All right, I want you guys to try that out. That was 5, 6, and 7.